Hi, and welcome back to Growth with Ciara. I am so excited that you're here with me today. And in today's episode, we're diving into consistency, discipline, integrity, and aligning our habits with the life we truly want. My guest today is Bryan Blackwell, husband, entrepreneur, personal trainer, and a man who truly lives by this principle. It is consistency, not motivation, that will transform your life. Welcome to Growth with Ciara, Bryan.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited that you're here.
Me too. I'm very excited to be here, and I just think that like even us knowing each other is just from alignment.
Yeah.
You know, like how we've crossed paths, and even like how I did your birthday spin
Oh
class.
my gosh.
and
Yes,
all
we
those
got to
things,
throw
like-
a clip of that.
Yeah, so it's been kind of cool to watch your journey, and just to see how like even with 75 hard, how I was doing it, and then like you were doing it, and it was so I think like life is kind of interesting how it steers people together in their journeys.
Yeah. Yes. So Bryan is the person responsible for introducing me to 75 Hard. And honestly, thank you, because it's truly transformed my life. I've kept it up ever since that first year that we've done it. And I'm doing it again. For those who follow me on socials, I've been struggling because this winter has been brutal. But it's one of the things that has truly transformed my life. And I think that you, as a personal trainer who's helped so many people unlock their potential, you have been a shining example of like talking the talk, but also walking the walk. You are a person who truly embodies the principles that they teach. And I think that's why so many people gravitate towards you and are so inspired by you, me included. Bryan was introduced to me by my dear comadre, Kate, many years ago. And as he mentioned, he also hosted a spinning class, an 80s themed spinning class for me and my friends a few years ago. And you have just always been someone that I have followed your journey as well as you've stepped into entrepreneurship. And you just are really just a really motivational person. And everyone aspires to motivate people, but you are really an example of somebody who is that. So I'm excited for this conversation, and I'm glad that we found the time.
Me too, because my schedule is very crazy. And I felt very bad because I'm someone who's very much so about my word.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was flaking. But most people don't realize that like I started 5 a.m. my workout, and from 6 to almost 9 o'clock, I'm with people like back to back.
Yeah, I mean, aside from obviously owning your own businesses, you are a personal trainer with people, and you also have a full life. You're married, you have a wonderful wife. Shout out to Jasmine. You are just really, really busy, and your schedule's really full. So I don't take it for granted that you made some time and space for me, and I definitely didn't think you were flaking. I live that schedule too, right? I may not be training people, but my days are full, and I understand that every minute counts. So no need to worry about that. Now, speaking of having a very full life, as I mentioned, you are an entrepreneur, you're a personal trainer. Talk to me about how consistency has, I guess, just taken over the way you carry yourself or the way that you show up every day.
So for me, consistency was not something I intended it to be. Just throughout my life, through the different things I've gone through, I've never really had a choice but to show up. And I think what happened is doing it over and over and just continuing to do it, it just becomes a habit. And what happened is I just became addicted to showing up.
I love that.
When I first started my journey as a trainer, I had 5 jobs. So I worked as a concierge in a building. I worked at a debt consolidation company. I worked at GNC. I was a part-time trainer, and then I was a bouncer. So I was consistent because I had to help support myself and my family, and working all these jobs and always showing up, it just became who I was. So like my DNA became showing up. And then what I started to realize is the more I pushed myself to show up, it stretched where I could go. Because like there'd be some days I would be on no sleep, working all these jobs with just enough time to shower, and I still showed up, and then opportunities would happen. So then I started to think, what would happen if I just became this person all the time?
Right. And I think that it's a great point that you made. It is a muscle. It is a skill that you have to constantly kind of reinforce. And the way that life has trained you, right, through having all of these different jobs and because of your circumstance, that prepared a level of work ethic that I think most people don't have. And that allows you, for example, right now in your life, where maybe you could be taking things a little easier if you wanted to, you still choose to show up. You still choose to give it your 100%. I sent him a message about the podcast like 2 weeks ago. And I know it's not that you don't want to answer me. It's just you're so caught up. And I know it's probably a second to breathe before you jump from one task to the other. So to still have that level of grit and grind and dedication to your craft and to your business, that's really admirable. And I hope you know that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I love that. So you mentioned that you had 5 jobs and you obviously have had a long journey to get to where you are now. I know you also are an epilepsy survivor. Talk to me about how that health condition either helped you or made you a little more cautious in the way that you, I guess, navigate through life.
So being an epilepsy survivor, that shaped my philosophy on life and my fitness journey because I was in the hospital for an extended amount of time. So there was a point in time where the doctors thought I was going to have a region of my brain taken out because they couldn't stop me from seizing.
Wow.
So when I recovered from that, I had to relearn to talk, relearn to walk, relearn to do simple tasks like tying my shoes. So that in itself trained my mindset to always be on performance because on top of having all these elements, you have doctors constantly telling you what you can and can't do.
Wow.
Like from a young age, they would tell me, you'll never play football. You'll never be able to do this. You'll always have to wear a helmet. You may be this. So it always trained me to think about performance. And what that got me to do is become someone who was very performance oriented. Right. I was always trying to focus on being better because I wanted to prove the doctors wrong. And I think that chip is what got me to where I am. Because one of the crowning moments of my life is someone who was told I'd never play football. I was a 4-year varsity starter, captain, all-league football player. And when I saw the feeling of proving those doctors wrong, that kind of reinforced that that was the kind of person I wanted to be. So I think that every hero has an origin story. And I think the epilepsy was my origin story because it's something that can be debilitating. And I turned it into a superpower. And I was able to take my testimony to share it with other people. And, you know, I wear it like a badge of honor. Like, I'll be honest, my wife jokes that I glitch sometimes. Like, and you know what? And I'm cool with it, right? Because of all the things I have wrong with me, sometimes I'm talking and I may move a little too fast and I jumble my words or whatever, right?
Right.
But I just think that dealing with that and having to go through that has made me stay grounded. And it's also given me a chip that forces me to grind and work.
Right. And like you said, it's a superpower, right? You've already defeated the odds, right? You were told that you couldn't do X, Y, and Z, and you were able to surpass all the limitations that were placed upon you. So how could you not apply that to every scenario in your life, right? I'm sure
100%.
There's been plenty of times where a wall has been put in your way or an obstacle that seems impossible to somebody else. To you, it's just like, I'm gonna bust through it. I'm gonna go through it because if I defeated that, there's nothing I can't do. I mean, that's incredible. That testimony alone is inspiring. And that's why you are able to inspire others because your life's work or your testimony is showing people, hey, if I could do it, so can you, right? Like, I love when I hear stories like that because it shows us that we all have a superpower. What we may see as a challenge or something that we might not understand was placed upon us, if we change our perspective and see it from a place of like, what is this sharpening in me? What is this making me see or learn about myself? Man, it's a superpower. You can literally turn into a superpower. So I think that's incredible that you were able to do that.
And I think more people should look at the trials and the tribulations they go through as a superpower. Because when you watch movies, right, if movies just went from the beginning to the end, it'll be boring. But you need some type of like a climax.
You need the drama.
Yeah, you need some struggle.
Yeah.
You know, you need something to mold you into who you're supposed to be. Yeah. So I think, you know, for the people who are watching this, if you look at your life and the things you've been through and you just start to think about the lessons and the characteristics they gave you, it gives you a different perspective.
It really does. And I think that it's also really important to remember that no matter where you are in your life right now, you may feel like you're at the bottom of the bottom. There's always a next level. It's always preparing you for something greater, something bigger. You may not see it now, but whatever's happening to you is happening for you. As long as you stay, I guess, in that thought, right? And you don't let whatever's trying to defeat you, right?
I agree.
And also surrounding yourself with people that have maybe walked, maybe not your path, but have walked through a storm and can show you like, hey, I made it through the other side. It's going to be okay. That's also really important, surrounding yourself with people that can actually lift you up when you're feeling like you're down on the dumps. And tell me, I know your wife is going to be your answer, but let's give her moment.
Yeah.
Tell me how your wife has been that person for you.
I think one thing that my wife has really done for me is she's seen me where I am, but she's held me accountable to the person that I tell her I want to be. Oof. So oftentimes, like I'll say, like, I want to do more social media, or even just with the starting of my own gym, I would be frustrated at the gym I was at. And she would always refocus me to, well, you said you wanted to do this, what's holding you back? Oof. So I think it's very important to have someone who gives you the empathy to see you and hear you and listen to your complaints, but also isn't afraid to challenge you.
Yeah, and also not afraid to call you out on, 100%. Hey, didn't you say you wanted to do this? Well, why aren't you doing it? We all need somebody like that. We need accountability partners.
I agree.
That's such a big part of succeeding or changing or evolving or growing. You need someone to call you out on your mess.
For
right?
sure.
And
For sure.
Maybe in a loving way, when you need it to be in a loving way, and maybe in a like get your together kind of way. You know?
But either way, sometimes like I think you need both. But I think the most important component of that is love. Yes. Because when there's love there, it doesn't feel like you're being chastised when someone holds you accountable. Yeah. So I think that a lot of times when you can find someone who has love for you, you're able to be vulnerable enough to allow yourself to be held accountable. Yeah. And I think also, I told this story on my Instagram the other day, but I remember in the beginning of my fitness journey, you know, I wasn't as busy as I wanted to be with clients, and social media just started. And I came home one day, and there was a Canon camera on the kitchen table, right?
Yeah.
And she was like, you know, I took my money from my job, and I got this for you because I see a lot of people are posting. And she started taking my photos.
Wow.
And before this point, I wasn't comfortable with taking pictures. Yeah. Like, you know, when I was younger, girls would call me ugly, and I was like the fat kid, whatever, right? But she saw something inside of me that was bigger than that.
Man.
And she was able to take the leap for me. So sometimes you need people who really stretch you and push you to where you're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because when you pray for blessings, you don't know what it looks like.
Yes.
Like praying for a blessing may not always be that material thing. And maybe the person who holds you accountable to get to where you need to be to get that material thing.
That's right. And that's so beautiful. And what a gift that you have that in Jasmine, and that you have had a partner that not only sees who you are in the moment, but sees who you can be and helps you become that person. I think that is one of the greatest gifts that life could ever give us, is to have a partner that helps us become a better version of ourselves. Absolutely. And helps us and supports our dream before we even know what that dream looks like. And like you said, that's a blessing. Sometimes the blessing we want is $1 million instead of looking at the person next to you who's supporting you to be someone who could even receive $1 million.
100%.
So it's really important to understand the power of partnership and the power of the relationships that we have in our lives. How has becoming a trainer or diving into the world of wellness helped you accept who you are?
So I would say, not to give you a long-winded answer, but I think I found acceptance in my body early on, because when I was a kid, right, I was a heavier kid. But what I found out was I was more athletic than a lot of the other kids, right? So because I was an athlete, it made me feel a little bit more confident. Yeah. And then I started learning how to tell jokes back.
Yeah.
You know, right?
Yeah.
So then once I got jokes, I started learning, well, if I dress nice, people kind of forget that you're the chubby kid and they talk about that. Right. So I think early on, I started to focus on those things. Yeah. And I didn't even know it, but that was shaping me into who I was.
Right.
And I think the turning point for me is after I graduated high school, I was no longer an athlete. I'm working all these jobs and I gained weight. And then I decided to make a change. So in 2012, I lost 70 pounds. And what happened for me, it was like in Family Matters. You remember Urkel, right?
Yeah.
So,
with Stephon Arkell.
Exactly. So Urkel would drink the juice, and he would go into that machine. And then when he would come out, he would be a smoother, suaver, stronger version of himself.
Right.
And that was what happened to me.
Yeah.
And a lot of those insecurities, I was able to rewrite those beliefs. And once I saw how that made me feel, I knew I needed to do that for other people.
Love that.
And it wasn't even a money thing. It was like, I need you to feel this, because I went from feeling small to walking in rooms. And as someone who had never experienced taking my shirt off and people being like, damn.
Yeah.
That was very impactful. And I think it allowed me to rewrite the beliefs that other people put on me.
Yeah, and rewriting beliefs is so important, because sometimes, especially in the world of fitness or health, and everyone's so focused on aesthetics, if we're not really working on those inner beliefs and our inner dialogue and the way that we treat ourselves, then everything on the outside doesn't even count, right? It's that mindset shift. It's truly accepting ourselves for how we are. Clearly, we want to be as healthy as possible. Clearly, we want vitality, and longevity is such a hot topic right now. But if we're not caring for our health on the inside too,
100%.
and caring for our soul and our minds and our emotional intelligence, then what's the point, right? It doesn't matter. You will never feel like you're taking up space. What made you feel that you were taking up space was not how you looked. It's just how you felt.
I agree.
And that feeling is something that no trainer can give you. No book can give you. That's something that you have to gift yourself. And I love when there's personal trainers like you that not only talk about the power of changing your body, but also changing your mind.
For sure.
Because those two things together, that's what makes you feel powerful. That's what
you know, for some people, they've never heard their own voice. Because, like, you know what happens when you're going through stuff, there's a million voices in your head, right?
Yep.
But when you work out, the loudest voice is the one that tells you that you're inadequate. So when you're working out for that 30, 45 minutes, that voice is quiet. And that's when those ideas start to flow through.
Yes.
That's when that confidence comes in.
Yeah.
So for me, that's even why I start my day at 5 a.m. with a workout, because when I'm working out, all the other voices are quiet. So that inspiration or the motivation or even things that happen, I'm able to replay them and address them from a different place, because I don't have all the other noise.
Yeah.
So, and I think for some people, just exercising allows them to quiet the noise of all those other voices.
100%.
And when you hear your own voice, is powerful.
It is. And I also love working out at 5 o'clock in the morning. I think that's the best way to start the day, right?
Agreed.
And like you said, the world is quiet. Most people are not up at that time. So you're able to kind of take care of you and pour into you without the world kind of pulling you in all directions. But also imagine you're able to kind of decide who you want to be that day, right? When you work
100%.
out at 5 o'clock in the morning and you treat yourself with love and care and, I don't know, work out in whatever way suits you, it's like you put on a battery pack, right? And you're able to tackle whatever you face during the day a little easier, right? Not perfect, because life happens, but you're stronger through it, versus when you don't pour into yourself first and then the day kind of pulls you in all directions. Me personally, I'm a nightmare by 7 p.m. because I feel like I'm not myself. I don't have my battery pack on. So working out at 5 a.m., I will always preach for that. I know everybody has a different internal clock and circadian rhythm, blah, blah, blah. But I have not met one person who hasn't implemented that as a routine. It might not be 5 a.m., but just as first thing in their day, and their life hasn't changed.
I agree. I mean, it's like a bank account, right? If your account is at zero, how can you sell someone else money? So if you don't fill your own cup, how can you pour into other people's? So when you start the day with filling your own cup, and it doesn't have to be a workout.
Yeah.
It could be a walk, it could be a meditation, but when you start with filling your own cup, you have so much more to give to other people.
And that compounds, right? Because if you're someone, for example, that person out there that's like, I want to start a fitness journey, but I don't even know what to do, go for a walk. Go for a 5-minute walk. You're going to feel so good after that 5 minutes. That 5 is going to turn into 10. That 10 is going to turn to 15. That 15 is going to turn to 20. Then you're like, maybe I should run a minute.
Yep.
And then you're going to start jogging. So everything compounds. And we as human beings, we love to feel good. So we're going to do the things that help us feel good. I think what happens is, especially in the fitness journey, is when people go 0 to 100. And they want to do everything extreme, and they haven't worked out a day in their life, and they want to spend 45 minutes lifting weights. the next day you're going to feel like crap.
Yeah.
And that's not going to help you want to go the next day. So doing sustainable things and obviously working with coaches, with personal trainers, people that are going to show you the right way to move your body. The best trainers I've ever worked with, and I've worked out with Bryan a few times, are people that are teaching you. That they're working out with you, but they're also explaining to you, this is why you're doing this, and this is the reason for that. That, to me, is a real coach.
I think if you take your money and you invest in a coach, right? Let's say you train with me for an entire year, twice a week. That's 104 workouts. You should leave knowing how to exercise. Because I tell people all the time, there's a difference between training and coaching. So training is when you first start out. I'm going to train you so you know these things. Once you know how to do it, now we transition to coaching.
Right.
And I think that's something that gets missed in fitness.
Yes.
You know, because I want you to be independent of me, because if I see you 2 hours a week, there's still 168 other hours. So if you don't know how to do these things on your own, you're not going to go for a walk. Right. So I want to teach you how to do this so that fitness becomes a habit and it rolls with you and it goes into other areas of your life. And
it becomes a lifestyle.
Exactly.
Being a good coach is helping your client, whatever way you are a coach, to be independent of you, like you said, to learn the skills to be able to create this as a part of their life without you. That's truly what a good coach should be doing, right? Tell me, how do you redefine discipline to feel more supportive and not restrictive?
So one of my favorite people in the world is Tony Robbins.
Yes,
and
me
Tony
too.
Robbins, like the reason why I like him is because he says stuff that I think, but he says it so smooth. And he always talks about whenever you want to redefine something, you have to redefine the language around it. Yes. So when you look at the word discipline, when we were kids, the person who would suspend you, give you detention, they were called a what?
Disciplinarian.
Exactly. So subconsciously, we have a negative relationship with discipline to start with. So what I tell people is, like, we're not trying to redefine discipline. We're changing the wording. We're trying to build momentum because everybody wants momentum. When you watch a sporting event, there's no more exciting event than when the team is down and they start to get what?
When they start winning.
When they start to get momentum, you feel it. It's energetic. It feels good. I used to play NBA Jam when I was a kid. I don't know if you remember that. But you would hit 2 or 3 shots, and then the announcer would go, "He's on fire."
Yes, yes.
That's what momentum feels like.
Yeah.
So when I tell people to stop focusing on discipline and start focusing on momentum, it's just 1, 2, 3 small steps that compound, that build. And momentum feels good, but discipline feels like restrictive and hard.
Yeah.
So if you're someone who just wants to redefine that, change the language.
Yeah.
When you say, how can I build momentum today, that feels different than how can I be more disciplined?
Yes, that's right. And discipline, for many people, like you said, they associate that with it being harsh or punishment or very, very restrictive. And I love that you changed that to momentum, because who doesn't want momentum? Everybody wants momentum. I love that. Pivoting a little bit, tell me, what was the hardest lesson that you've learned that has become fuel for your growth?
The hardest lesson I learned was my senior year of high school. I ended up getting dropped from 2 classes in the 4th marking period. So they called me into the office. They called my dad into the office. And one of the things I was taught coming from a Southern family is you don't do it for your first name, you do it for your last name. So the first day of high school, my dad gave me the craziest advice. He basically was like, don't go to jail, don't get anybody pregnant, and don't embarrass me in front of these white people.
There you
So
go.
that sets the stage for where we were. So we walk into the office, the principal's there, my guidance counselor's there, my dad was there because I was in class, they called me in, and they sat me down and they told me that I wasn't gonna graduate.
Wow.
And after everything I'd come through, like overcome to get to this point, I'd never seen my dad more angry. But it wasn't the anger like he was going to give me a spanking or ground me. It was like a level of disappointment.
Yeah, of course.
So I remember we were walking out of the school, and he parked right in front of the school, and I get to the car, and he goes, "You're going to walk home."
Oof.
Exactly. And you know what that feels like.
Oh, that walk must have felt like...
I didn't even walk. I sat in front of the school for 3 hours, and I just contemplated. And that was the first time I thought about 2 things. Number one, how my actions and my impact and the things I was doing would affect my family and people around me. And then I thought about the type of man that I wanted to be.
Wow.
And the type of actions and the type of habits that I needed.
Yeah.
And at 18 years old, I changed my life.
Wow.
So I went from someone who didn't wake up early because I got dropped from the classes from being late.
Wow. What a lesson.
It wasn't for anything bad. It was just, in
Yeah.
the state of New Jersey, you get enough lates, you get dropped.
Yes. They're
Right?
New Jersey is very intense with that.
But so at 18, I made a decision that I was going to change the person I was.
Wow.
So I started reading. I started waking up earlier. And that truly shaped who I was.
Wow. That's incredible. And shout out to your dad for making you want to walk home, because that gave you the time to reflect and really absorb the impact or the consequence of your decision. Wow, that's incredible. What about for someone who is maybe starting their fitness journey and they may not know where to start? What is one small habit that they can adopt today?
I would say the easiest thing is to make a checklist. Think about habits that you want to do every week or every day and put it somewhere where you can see it and just check it off. Let's say you want to exercise 3 times a week. Put it on your refrigerator, make a note on your phone, because just checking it off will start to build momentum.
Yes.
So it doesn't need to be something big. It could be something small. But just over time, as you start to see that you're checking off those goals, it's going to motivate you to want to do more.
Yeah.
One of the things that's so wild about Peloton is people...
Shout out to Peloton!
But people love those notifications. You're on a 7-day streak.
Yes.
This is your 1,000th ride. And it's powerful because in your mind, it reprograms you to get dopamine from achieving.
That's right.
And that's what you could do. So it doesn't need to be anything big. A year ago, I made a decision to start working out at 5 a.m. But before the 5 a.m. workouts happened, I just woke up and got dressed in workout clothes.
There you go.
Because just doing that for a week eventually led to getting there at 5 a.m.
Yes.
And then a year later, I've been doing 5 a.m. workouts.
Yes.
So if you're someone who wants to make some change, just make a checklist.
Yeah, and also set yourself up for success, right? Like, if you're somebody that knows that 5 a.m. is just not your natural time to wake up, then the day before, make sure your clothes are laid out. Make sure you have everything you possibly need, so that way you don't talk yourself out of doing it. And that'll help you become more successful. Nothing that we do to change our habits will ever be easy. We're going to be uncomfortable. We're going to hate it. But then once we get to the other side and that habit becomes a daily practice, you're going to love it. So you just have to remember, get to the other side. You just got to get to the other side. I love that. Okay. And finally, our last question. What does growth mean to you in this season of your life?
So, growth means a couple things. At this point in my life, I'm a husband first, I'm a coach second, and I'm an entrepreneur third. I once read somewhere that the most godlike you can be is when you're creating or serving others, because when you look at the Bible, those were God's primary jobs. He created and he served. So for me, when I was younger, a lot of the things I did came from the ego. Yeah. And, even these things I overcame and needing to prove people wrong were ego emotions. Yeah. So for me, growth at this stage in my life is just about living in purpose. And to summarize it, I created a pyramid for myself. So at the bottom of the pyramid is self-awareness. Okay. So that's becoming aware about how I'm showing up, and my mental health, my financial health, my spiritual health, my physical health, and just seeing where I lack and where I need to improve.
Love that.
The next level is just self-confidence. And that's fixing those areas that make me feel inadequate, are the things that are wrong, and just dedicating my time to doing that. And then on the third level is just self-esteem. Once I've recalibrated and I've fixed those things, it's seeing how I can get more out of life and seeing where I've been playing small and not showing up as the person I should be. And at the very top of that pyramid is just mastering. It's doing all of these things on a continual basis and just making sure whenever I feel out of alignment, I start back at that bottom of that pyramid and I become aware. And I found for myself over the last 15 years, this is truly what has allowed me to be a better person.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, it's continual, it's consistency.
Yep.
Because we're never going to feel motivated. We're not always going to feel motivated. And sometimes that discipline hasn't kicked in yet. But if we just keep showing up, we're going to get to the other side. We're going to get to that goal. We're going to have that either body or dream or whatever your goal is. It requires consistency, and it requires mastery, and it requires showing up. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much. I want to acknowledge you for the way you serve, the way you show up, the way you inspire others, not only because of the way you coach, but the way that you live your life, which is honestly the best way we can change our world, right? Change our surroundings is by leading by example. So thank you so much for being here.
And thank you for having me. And I truly appreciate you for creating a platform that allows people to show growth in different ways, because growth looks different for different people.
Right.
So I think bringing these people together is a great thing, and it truly speaks to who you are. Because you get great guests on this show, and they wouldn't show up if you weren't the person you were. So thank you for being you.
Thank you. I received that. And thank you. Thank you for showing up, and let's continue to grow together. Bye.